All right, so we'll talk about what's new in Python 3.11. The last time I gave one of these talks was actually what was new in Python 3.8 at PyHEP2022 in person. At that time, we'd actually, the release of Python, it came out, I think, a couple of days before the workshop, because the workshop was in October. This one's a little bit earlier, so this is about to release. The final release candidate came out a couple of days ago, about I think 3 days ago. And it is almost here. It'll be coming out October 3rd. There we go, sorry. So final release candidates available now. The release is coming October 3rd. The themes for this update are, several of them are recognizable. Typing is a theme again. Errors is something that actually was a big theme of 3.9 and 10 and was a really fantastic thing. People loved it, and it's continuing to be a theme. And a new theme, that's just becoming a major theme of Python and will be for the next several years, is it is faster. So we'll start with that one. So the Faster CPython project is in full swing now. It started a year or two ago with Guido van Rossum and Mark Shannon, several people from Microsoft. We got together and decided that they would try to make Python faster, which is a different mindset than in the past, where they weren't worried about making Python faster. So there are lots of different things that went into 3.11, like these zero cost exceptions and things that will change the performance profile. But overall, on average, through the benchmarks that they're running, it's about 25% faster and can be up to 60% faster. So in the plot, you see this is the ray tracing example they have, and you can see the different Python versions being compared. Total runtime there, scaled to 1 for Python 3.8. And this is something I think that will be quite exciting both here and in the future. The plan is to just continue this. Eventually, a JIT will be added. That is planned, though there's just lots of low-lying fruit that were available, like a specializing adaptive interpreter, for example. Most of these things you should get for free, though that may change what you do to get fast code. And there are some features that are added as well, like regular expressions are a bit faster, but if you use atomic grouping or possessive qualifiers, your regular expression will be a bit more limited, but you'll be able to get a much faster match. So error messages was another, errors in general was another theme of this update. This is the error that you'd see in 3.10 for this little piece of code here. And imagine if you couldn't see this first line, this would be really difficult to diagnose, because you don't really know what none-type object was not subscriptable. Well, in Python 3.11, it now looks like that. So you actually get to see exactly what portion of the expression caused the error. They actually have to store a little bit more information here. This adds a tiny bit of memory, so it is something you can disable with the runtime flag. But it's generally, I think, will be quite fantastic for discovering what's wrong. And like any of these errors, not much has to happen in order for it to be supported. You just get this for free by simply using Python 3.11 instead of 3.10. Now, some things that handle tracebacks are going to have to update, like IPython and Rich and things like that. Okay. Another feature that's added that I'm really excited about is this add notes. So exceptions now have an add note method, and if you call that, you can add a note to an exception, and that gets printed at the end. So here, I'm adding a note to the exception and then just continuing with the exception. So this just adds a little helpful message at the bottom. It doesn't mess with the exception. You're not re-raising an exception. You're not, do you chain it together, make your exception way longer? Generally, whatever you do here messes with the original exception. Now you don't have to, and you just have a way to add notes. You can add multiple notes and they'll just stack. It's really, really nice. Again, things like IPython will have to update to support this. Exception groups is actually the only major new syntax feature was related to exception groups. They don't actually have to have the new syntax. The new syntax is except star. So this allows you to handle multiple exceptions, and exception groups allow you to throw multiple exceptions. And this is backported, minus the new syntax, obviously, as a pip install exception group with no S, sorry, ignore the S there. And this actually is really transformational. I didn't realize this until I started playing with cattrs. And cattrs is already using this. And with cattrs is a lot like Pydantic, but you can use just built-in data classes or attrs classes. And when you are trying to structure or unstructure your code, it will show all of the errors at once. So in this case, I was trying to load something from JSON. It had an index, but it was missing. I misnamed the cache v2 and the files v1, and I see both of the errors at the same time. I don't have to run it, fix one error, run it again, fix the next error. They're all collected and showed at once. I think this will be really transformational for certain types of problems. And I said, this is already being used. If you were to use this, for example, in IPython, you would be missing the notes and you would be missing the actual entire traceback. PyTest is another thing that captures and meddles with tracebacks. But I expect that hopefully the backport will be supported everywhere, and that will be supported everywhere as well. Another thing that this enables, this was on hold until exception groups were added, and it was added almost instantly once exception groups landed, was task groups in asyncio. So in asyncio, you now have support for task groups, which are similar to trio nurseries and several other features you might have seen before, but they are really, really nice. So in this case, this is the entire piece of code. And I have this little lots of work function that's doing some work and also doing a rich progress bar to track it. And then all I have to do is I open up a task group, I create tasks, those run in parallel. And then when you hit the end of the context manager, it'll wait till all the tasks inside finish. So this is what it looks like when you run it. And that's just the output of this exact code. You can copy and paste it and try it yourself if you want, if you have Python 3.11 and Rich installed. So very, very nice. Static typing has just been moving forward a huge amount every release. And there's lots of very nice things here as well. Lots of these will be available through typing extensions, so you can use them earlier as well. Some of the ones I'm most excited for, self-type is really nice. That's such a common pattern, and it's really annoying to do as it is. Unfortunately, it's not supported by MyPy yet because MyPy has bugs, and this really runs into those bugs. And MyPy's code, unfortunately, is a bit of a pain. But exhaustiveness checking is one that I was pushing for, and it made it in. So you can just say assert never if something can never happen. Much better than the old weird workaround. Variadic generics was added for NumPy, and that would allow you, and NumPy's planning on having basically the ability to statically type the dimensions of an array using that. And lots of other just nice little features that will make things easier and nicer, like saying required or not required for things inside of a typed dict. So a couple more things in sort of the remaining collection of features. Reading TOML files is now built into the standard library. If you're in the packaging world, which I am, this is really exciting. It gets rid of a chicken and egg problem where you need to read your the pyproject.toml to see what dependencies you need to then install dependencies. But you have to install dependency to do that. So that's going away in 3.11. That's really nice. Not writing, just reading. And Python is gaining native support for WebAssembly. So this has heavily been inspired by a lot of the work in PyDide. They've been helping out. But 3.11 will be the first version to actually provide support, only support tier 3, but some support for Python in the browser directly. And then the next version, hopefully, right after October, actually, hopefully this will push up to tier 2 and binaries will start being provided on python.org for WebAssembly. So this will make it easier for PyDide and as well as all the other various attempts to create web distributions for Python. There's a WebAssembly conda-forge project and stuff. Then there's a lot of other little features, contextlib.changeder. I'm not sure how you'd say that together, but the change directory context manager. So you can just throw that in scripts. Don't do it in libraries, please. It's not thread safe. It's just literally just changing the directory and then changing it back. But it's such a handy little thing that you often have to write. Now you don't have to write it anymore. The safe path is something to keep in mind. Python is currently it's opt-in, but Python is providing a way to turn off the looking up the current directory for Python. So things have to be packaged. And be interesting to see how this continues. It may eventually become a default or something. We'll have to see. But there is actually a flag now to tell Python to stop looking in the current directory for things. This is one of the main reasons that we put things inside source directories, by the way. And just a bunch of other really nice things. The limited API stability base still not quite. There's not quite enough there for PyBind 11 to use it, but we've added what we need to Python 3.12. So Python 3.12, we might be able to offer limited API stability API support for PyBind 11. But it's nice to see at least some more things that are really critical, like PyBuffer, get added to it. Okay. So for support, Python's ABI stable as of release candidate 1. We're on release candidate 2 now, which is the final release candidate. CI build wheel fully supports this. NumPy has already started releasing binaries due to the fact that they're using CI build wheel. Awkward Array has already shipped binaries due to the fact they're using CI build wheel, and NumPy shipped them. SciPy is about to release it because they've moved to CI build wheel. Matplotlib, of course, is one of our early users of CI build wheel. They're shipping binaries soon. This is something that has never been done before. NumPy has never shipped binaries during the RC phase, even though you're supposed to. So this really means that more of the ecosystem will be ready on release day than ever before for any version of Python in the past. And GitHub Actions also ships development versions really, really quickly, and that's been extremely nice for testing. So I think this will really help pick up adoption, and hopefully the first release of Python won't have the bugs in it that Python is known for in the .0 versions, like 3.6.0 and 3.9.0 were just horribly buggy due to critical bugs slipping through because people weren't testing. So very excited to see how quickly people pick this up. In the future, Python 3.12 is getting rid of distutils. So it's really important to try to upgrade packaging. I've been working on that. Feel free to watch the Scikit build project that's being rewritten. I have a 3-year grant to work on that, and hopefully that will become a really, really powerful native way to build software. And Unicode is going to be made default in Python 3.15. So whenever you open a file or read text, anything, always specify the encoding as UTF-8. Mostly that is usually what it is, but there are some systems where it's not, and usually you don't want that. If you want, there actually now is a new native encoding, but yeah, I don't know why you'd want to use it. I think you should use UTF-8, or if your file is not in UTF-8, you should use whatever it's in, instead of depending on what the operating system is set to. Okay. And that's what I have. Thanks.
Hey, thanks very much, Henry. That was a super overview in a very short period of time, but that's fantastic. And yeah, like as you mentioned, given the super nice work that you and other people have been doing for like CI build wheel and making sure that there's those release candidates available by default, we have things also like, as you mentioned, Matplotlib is their nightly builds, are including Python 3.11 as well. So I think it'll be really nice to have a large amount of the scientific Python ecosystem be able to take advantage of this right away. Okay, so
there was one question. So somebody asked about the support level tiers, which is a good question because that's actually, I think, PEP 6 or some very small number, but it hasn't really been very well defined until recently. And this is one of the things that push them into defining it. So, tier level 1 is something that Python fully supports, that if there's a problem that will immediately break that will be a release blocker. You can't, that system must work. So things like Intel, Macs, and Linux, the regular Intel Linux and regular Windows count there as tier 1. Tier 2 is something they provide binaries for, and they're a bit, it's not quite as bad. They will probably block releases, but I think it's not absolutely required. It's scaled down just a bit. And then tier 3 is one where they do not provide binaries. It's sort of just at least one developer is trying to help support that system, and they are okay with supporting it, but it's not, if there's a bug, it won't necessarily block a release or anything like that. So WebAssembly is now onto tier 3, which is similar to, it's in the sort of the area that a few of the other kind of strange architectures are in. Tier 2 is where Apple Silicon is right now, I think. And so that's a pretty, the stuff you would definitely recognize inside tier 2. So that would be a really nice place to be. Yeah, that's what that is.
Okay. It looks like that's the only question we had on Slido. So I think that's it for today. So Henry, thanks again very much for